First up on our grand tour of expendable anatomy is the absolute celebrity of useless organs, your appendix. This little guy has been getting roasted by scientists for decades, treated like the ultimate biological freeloader. Picture a tiny, finger-shaped pouch hanging off your large intestine, minding its own business in your lower right abdomen. It measures 3 to 4 inches long, resembling a deflated balloon nobody invited to the party. For the longest time, the brightest minds in medicine thought it was completely useless. They considered it a mere leftover from our evolutionary past, like the wisdom teeth of your gut just waiting to cause you immense pain. The theory was that our ancient ancestors ate way more plants and needed extra help digesting tough roughage. But since we discovered the magic of cooking and processed foods, the appendix supposedly lost its prehistoric day job. Hold on to your intestines. Because here is a major plot twist. Recent groundbreaking research suggests the appendix might not be so useless after all. It actually serves as a highly secure safe house for your good gut bacteria. Imagine you get a terrible stomach bug and your digestive system goes completely haywire. It is a total disaster zone, and your fragile microbiome is absolutely decimated by the sudden biological hurricane flushing you out. Enter the hero! The appendix secretly stores backup bacteria to help repopulate your gut later. It acts exactly like a biological USB flash drive for your microbiome, restoring your system's factory settings when the crisis passes. Despite this cool feature, about 300,000 Americans still get their appendix yanked out every year due to appendicitis. When this little pouch gets angry and inflamed, it absolutely has to go before it violently bursts. The eviction procedure is called an appendectomy, and it is incredibly common. Recovery typically takes just a few short weeks, meaning you will be back on your feet and complaining about hospital bills in absolutely no time at all. Post-surgery, people go right back to eating, exercising, and living exactly as they did before. There are 0 lifestyle modifications needed. You will not even miss your biological USB drive, proving it is completely dispensable. Next up on our chopping block is the gallbladder. Let us talk about this little organ that basically functions as a temporary storage tank for bile. Bile is that yellowish-green fluid your liver makes to break down heavy fats. Think of your gallbladder as a small, pear-shaped balloon tucked neatly under your massive liver. It patiently waits there, holding on to precious digestive juice until you decide to devour a massive, greasy cheeseburger for lunch. When you eat something wonderfully fatty, your gallbladder springs into action. It aggressively squeezes its stored bile directly into your small intestine, providing the chemical firepower needed to digest all that greasy goodness. It is a beautifully orchestrated system, but here's the funny thing. Your liver can just drip bile directly into your intestines all by itself. It does not actually need the gallbladder to play middleman in this digestion game. Because it is essentially just a biological storage unit, around 600,000 people in the US get their gallbladder casually removed each year. The most common culprit? Those incredibly annoying, highly painful gallstones. Gallstones are terrible little crystals that form from hardened bile. They might sound like pretty gemstones, but they're actually jagged little rocks of pure misery that block your bile ducts and cause absolutely intense pain. Just how bad is this pain? Well, some people vividly describe a severe gallstone attack as being significantly worse than childbirth. So, when the gallbladder starts producing these torture pebbles, surgeons are happy to evict it. After the removal surgery, most people adjust surprisingly well to a life without their built-in bile reservoir. You might need to watch your fat intake a bit more carefully, perhaps skipping that third slice of extra greasy pizza. Some folks might experience looser stools after eating heavy fatty meals, but many do not notice any difference whatsoever. Your adaptable body simply adjusts, and the liver just keeps producing bile on demand like a loyal factory. Ultimately, the gallbladder is basically like having a fancy storage unit in your backyard. It is definitely nice for keeping things organized, but if you absolutely had to get rid of it, you would adapt just fine without much hassle. Let us move on to an organ that actually does genuinely cool stuff, but you can still survive without it. Your spleen. It sounds like a weird insult from an old novel, but it is actually a vital part of your internal anatomy. Located snugly on the left side of your abdomen, hiding right behind your stomach, this purplish, fist-sized organ works overtime. It is a key member of your immune system and acts as the elite blood filtration crew for your body. Your spleen tirelessly filters old, worn out, or damaged red blood cells out of your bloodstream. It also stores a backup supply of platelets and produces specialized white blood cells specifically designed to fight off infections. It is particularly fantastic at fighting off certain aggressive bacteria. You can think of the spleen as a highly efficient combination of a cellular recycling center and a heavily armed security guard patrolling your bloodstream. Unfortunately, people who suffer traumatic injuries like blunt force trauma from car accidents often rupture this delicate organ. Certain severe blood disorders or cancers might also require the spleen to be surgically removed. This removal procedure is known as a splenectomy. You might panic thinking about losing your primary blood filter, but fear not. Without a spleen, your liver and lymph nodes heroically step up to pick up the blood filtering slack. However, losing your spleen means you lose a major chunk of your immune defenses. You become significantly more vulnerable to certain severe bacterial infections, making you a bit more fragile against everyday microscopic threats. Because of this heightened risk, doctors highly recommend getting vaccinated against pneumonia, meningitis, and the flu. You need to keep your artificial immunities fully updated to compensate for your completely missing organ. Some spleenless individuals take daily antibiotics as a strict preventive measure. It is a bit of a hassle, but a small price to pay to avoid life-threatening infections when your internal security guard is permanently fired. In the end, the spleen is exactly like that one overachieving coworker doing consistently great work. But when they finally go on a permanent vacation, everyone else in the office steps up, and the company somehow does not collapse. Here is something that might genuinely surprise you about your body. You have got 2 kidneys, but you really only need one of them to survive. Evolution essentially gave you a built-in spare tire for your internal filtration system. These remarkable bean-shaped organs sit quietly on either side of your spine. They tirelessly filter toxic waste from your blood, meticulously regulate your blood pressure, and perfectly balance the fluid levels throughout your body. Every single day, your hardworking kidneys filter an astonishing 120 to 150 quarts of blood. That is enough fluid to fill a large bathtub, completely scrubbed clean of metabolic waste and water. Here is the incredible part. Just one single kidney can handle about 75% or more of your normal kidney function. That is absolutely more than enough filtration power to keep you completely healthy and totally alive. Because of this massive biological redundancy, thousands of generous people choose to donate a kidney every single year. They undergo surgery, give away a vital organ, and go on to live completely normal, healthy, and fulfilling lives. When you lose a kidney, the remaining one does something truly spectacular. It actually grows physically larger and significantly increases its filtering capacity. This fascinating biological adaptation is called compensatory hypertrophy. It is exactly like your remaining kidney suddenly decides to hit the gym, drink protein shakes, and bulk up to handle all the extra workload by itself. It transforms from a regular worker into an absolute anatomical bodybuilder. Some people are literally born with just one kidney and might never even know it. They live their entire lives blissfully unaware until they get a random imaging scan for something completely unrelated and discover their solo bean. The whole kidney situation is absolute proof that evolution sometimes gives us fantastic backup plans. Though, obviously, if you are down to just one kidney, you really want to take extra good care of it, since there are no spares left. To keep your solo kidney happy and thriving, you need to stay incredibly well hydrated, maintain a healthy blood pressure, and keep up with regular checkups. Treat it like a VIP, because it is doing the work of 2 organs all day long. Moving up the torso, let us talk about breathing. Breathing is pretty important, right? Well, here is some surprisingly good news. You can actually do it effectively with just one lung. You can lose half your breathing apparatus and live. You naturally have 2 lungs taking up most of the real estate in your chest. While having both is obviously ideal for peak performance, people can totally survive with just one through a major surgical procedure called a pneumonectomy. Doctors do not just remove a lung for fun, obviously. This drastic measure usually happens because of severe lung cancer, massive traumatic injuries to the chest, or certain incredibly stubborn infections that simply refuse to be cured. After the dramatic removal, the remaining solo lung actually expands and increases its capacity to compensate for its missing partner. It puffs up to fill the empty void in your chest cavity, trying its best to keep you fully oxygenated. However, it is not a perfect substitution. Your overall lung capacity drops permanently by about 35 to 40%. That means your body is suddenly working with significantly less oxygen intake than it was originally used to. Because of this reduced capacity, activities requiring lots of oxygen become significantly more challenging. Running up a steep flight of stairs, playing competitive sports, or doing intense cardio workouts will definitely leave you gasping. You might even get winded a bit more easily while just doing everyday household chores. But despite this, people with only one lung can still live wonderfully active lives. They just need to be far more mindful about their overall health. With only one lung left, you become extremely vulnerable to severe respiratory infections. A simple cold can become dangerous, so vaccines for pneumonia and the flu become absolutely critical for your ongoing survival and daily well-being. And it goes without saying, but smoking is absolutely 100% off the table. Living with one lung is like going from a powerful V8 engine to a modest four-cylinder. You will still get where you are going, just not as quickly. Despite the reduced horsepower, many people with just one lung still go hiking in the mountains, travel across the globe, and work demanding full-time jobs. The human body is incredibly resilient, even when missing a massive chunk of itself. Let us shift gears and talk about your reproductive organs. While they are absolutely crucial for the survival of the human species, they are completely non-essential for your own personal, day-to-day biological survival. For women, the uterus can be entirely removed through a common surgery called a hysterectomy. This is often done to treat incredibly painful conditions like severe fibroids, endometriosis, or life-threatening cancers. The uterus has one primary job: to safely house a developing fetus. But if you are not currently pregnant and have no plans to be in the future, you simply do not need this organ to stay perfectly alive and healthy. Women can also have one or both of their ovaries surgically removed. However, unlike the uterus, losing your ovaries directly affects your body's hormone production, throwing you into early menopause with sudden changes. When both ovaries are completely removed, doctors often prescribe hormone replacement therapy. This helps manage the intense symptoms of sudden hormone loss like hot flashes, keeping the body balanced and functioning. On the male side of things, men can lose one or both testicles due to aggressive cancer, severe physical trauma, or nasty infections. It is a terrifying thought for most guys, but biologically, it is not a death sentence. Losing just one testicle usually does not even require any major hormonal treatment. The remaining solo testicle simply works a little harder and can easily produce enough testosterone and sperm to keep things normal. However, losing both testicles means your body's natural testosterone factory is completely shut down. In this scenario, you would absolutely need lifelong testosterone replacement therapy to maintain your muscle and health. It is definitely worth noting that losing any of these reproductive organs can have massive emotional and psychological impacts. It can deeply affect a person's identity, requiring significant therapy and emotional support. But if we are looking at this from a pure, strictly biological survival standpoint, you do not need them to live. Your heart will keep beating, your lungs will keep breathing, and you will exist perfectly fine without them. Now, prepare yourself for an absolutely wild one. You can actually live without your stomach. The very organ that rumbles when you are hungry and turns your pizza into mush can be completely removed, and you will survive. In cases of severe, life-threatening stomach cancer or other dangerous gastric conditions, surgeons can perform a total gastrectomy. They completely remove the entire stomach pouch, taking away your primary food storage tank. To put you back together, surgeons perform an incredible plumbing job. They bypass the missing stomach entirely and connect your esophagus directly to your small intestine. Your food takes a massive shortcut into the tract. Without a stomach, you obviously cannot store massive amounts of food or break it down with strong acids the way you used to. Your days of eating an entire Thanksgiving turkey in one single sitting are permanently over because you lack that internal storage tank. You need to drastically change how you eat. You must consume much smaller, highly frequent meals carefully spread throughout the entire day to avoid overwhelming your new system. Instead of the traditional 3 square meals a day, think more along the lines of 5 or 6 tiny, nutrient-dense meals. It is like turning into a constant grazer, snacking just to get enough calories for daily activities. You will also become heavily reliant on daily vitamin supplements. Your stomach normally produces a special protein needed to absorb vitamin B12. Without it, you need regular B12 injections just to keep your nerves working. Despite these massive biological adjustments, people absolutely can and do live full lives without a stomach. Your adaptable small intestine steps up and picks up the digestive slack, even if the process is less efficient. Because digestion is less efficient and meal sizes are tiny, many people lose a significant amount of weight right after surgery. They have to work incredibly hard with dietitians just to maintain a healthy body mass index. But once they adjust to their new normal, stomachless individuals can still thoroughly enjoy eating delicious food, travel the world, and work normal jobs. It is a bizarre anatomical reality, but a true testament to survival. Finally, let us dive into the lower digestive tract. A significant portion of your large intestine, also known as your colon, can be surgically removed. In some extreme medical cases, surgeons might take out the entire organ. This drastic procedure usually happens because of severe conditions like aggressive colorectal cancer, painful Crohn's disease, or ulcerative colitis. When the colon becomes too diseased or damaged to function, it has to go. The surgical removal of the colon is called a colectomy. Your colon's main job is quietly absorbing excess water from digested food and forming waste into solid stool. It is essentially the moisture control center of your gut. Without a colon to absorb all that water, your digestive waste moves through your system much faster and remains highly liquid. This inevitably means you will be making significantly more frequent, urgent trips to the bathroom. In cases where the entire colon is removed, some people live with an ileostomy. This means their small intestine is routed through the abdomen, and their digestive waste is diverted into a specialized medical bag outside the body. Because you no longer have a colon squeezing water back into your bloodstream, staying incredibly well hydrated becomes a matter of absolute daily survival. You have to drink fluids constantly to replace what you are losing. You might also need to make some serious dietary adjustments. Eating high-fiber foods like raw vegetables can suddenly cause dangerous intestinal blockages, so your diet needs to be carefully managed to keep things flowing. Living without a colon is definitely a massive lifestyle adjustment. But surprisingly, many people report feeling dramatically better after the surgery, especially if they spent years dealing with agonizing colon conditions. People without colons, even those living with ostomy bags, still go swimming, exercise vigorously, travel the world, and live incredibly active lives. Modern medicine and adaptable anatomy make it entirely possible to thrive. It absolutely requires strict lifestyle adjustments, but it is ultimate proof that your colon, while incredibly helpful, isn't totally essential. Your body is a miraculous, resilient machine loaded with biological backups